Liverpool have gone against the norm here, really. They're extending and it's only a 2-year deal, which works out, I think, for everybody involved. So I think that'll take him up to age 35. But they've given a lad in his 30s a massive deal. Like, same dough, apparently, by all accounts, maybe even a little bit more. Is this just because Mo Salah, and we assume Virgil van Dijk down the road? This is, this idea that you've got to be steadfast in your approach to data, and we don't give players over. Chelsea fell foul of this a few years ago when they started offering 1-year contracts to players, and they were like, fuck this, we'll go find somewhere else. It does feel like there's been a little bit of adaptability here on both sides. He probably, if you ask Mo Salah, probably would like the 4-year deal, just to secure himself forever. But Liverpool have give a fella in his 30s a massive amount of money for 2 years. It feels like there's been compromise on both sides there.
Yeah, and rightfully so. That was always likely to be the case if this was ever going to get done. I'm delighted that it hasn't, obviously, but Liverpool have broken the mould for a player that's defying conventional wisdom. Basically, that's how I look at it. You know what I mean? Like,
he's a player who doesn't fit in the mould.
Exactly. Liverpool,
he's an anomaly. You can have all the data you want, but when you've got an anomaly that sits outside of the data, what do you do?
Liverpool's general, and we always sort of circle this back around to Michael Edwards, and that may well be factual. It might be just speculation, who knows, but we always just say, well, Michael Edwards doesn't generally like giving contracts to 30 plus year olds because, history has told us that is the case. But also, he's not stupid, he's the opposite of that. You know what I mean? He can see what Mo Salah's producing on the pitch. He's privy to all the training data and all the numbers and all that sort of stuff. So if Mo Salah is still amongst the absolute elite performers, not just at Liverpool but across world football, he's going to look at that and go, actually, by rights, I don't like doing this sort of thing. But this is obvious.
And then the other side of that is, all right, so Salah goes now. He goes in the summer. For all of the data stuff that you've said, and Michael Edwards is sitting there crunching his numbers, how much does he know he has to pay to replace those numbers?
That's an FSG conversation more, but you are absolutely spot on. Yeah.
Like, in order to do that, you're seeing those numbers leave the door, and the wage goes down.
Well, straight away, Errol, Alex Isak's 150 mil on 200 grand a week.
Yeah.
You better just keep him Mo Salah for 2 years. If it's a choice between the two, you're out.
Someone who's settled, someone who gets it, someone who's already doing it, putting up numbers, winning stuff, winning medals, probably going to up there to potentially win player this season as well. Again, it felt like a no-brainer, but I always go back to your point. Was the wage ultimately going to be the stick on point? And I'm glad for so many reasons that they've been able to find a happy medium.
On that, I'll come back to you on that one, because the owners do get a lot of stick sometimes. I mean, we know this, we do shows. Sometimes they get, it can be mad. A bit loads, like whatever your thoughts are on the ownership, but like they have, someone somewhere's made the decision to push the button on this. It was interesting in Arne Slot's press conference. He went, I had a little part to play in it. He mentioned FSG, Michael Edwards, and especially Richard Hughes. He was very keen to point out that Richard Hughes has been involved in this a lot. So, like, to be fair, like, criticism when criticism's due and praise when praise is due. However they've got there, the right outcome has been made. Thanks. And they have, anyone talks about them being cheap, they've stumped up a lot of money. They've guaranteed this fella almost 400 grand a week for 2 years in his 30. This could go wrong, like there's a chance. I hope it doesn't. But they've put the money where the mouth is, basically. They said, listen, we want to continue winning things, and this fella helps us win things. We're willing to pay him the big dough that he deserves.
They have, and where I would say, I'd take it one step further on that as well. And, Slot's probably downplayed his role in this, because for me, I think outside of what he's done for the team this season, this is probably the biggest seal of approval that anybody could ask for, really, in terms of from outside looking in. It's like, how do we judge it? The season's been a bit weird in certain parts. City haven't been the City that we're used to, so they haven't pushed us in the same way. Arsenal, we're not 100% sure if they are competitive, not competitive, but like real contenders for taking over a Premier League and whatnot. We've dropped out of Europe in the stage that we did. However, someone who is your mainstay, who is pretty much your talisman, has decided this still works for me. Everything about this still works for me. And I think where I'd attribute the credit back to FSG is more in the mould of, you got the Slot acquisition right then, because ultimately if we get him wrong and it all starts to fall apart this season and we're all out of sorts, it becomes very easy for Salah to say, thanks lads, thanks for everything you've done, thank you City, thank you club, I'm going to walk away now because this isn't really for me. But the fact that Slot's, I don't even want to say just steady the ship, because it sounds like I'm downplaying his own achievements.
He's going to win the Premier League.
Exactly. Like, man's actually going to win the Premier League as well. But like, he's done it in such a way that it is given reassurance.
Salah. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and in terms of being able to do that, I've got to give him a massive credit, but also FSG, because it could have went wrong sooner, and the fact that it hasn't, and now we're able to build on what we consider momentum a lot. And the other thing that he gets slated for as well is the fact that we never capitalise on a position of strength. This to me is strength. Right now, when we're about to on the cusp of winning the Premier League, and you've just timed down your talisman for another 2 years, when you're going to start building his squad. Come on, bro.
I was going to say that's the next question. He mentioned in his statement, and 3 times I think Salah said in the interview, I've won big trophies and I want to continue to win big trophies. And he thinks now with this manager and whatever's going to happen behind the scenes, he can win trophies. Because I agree with you, by the way, we've all said before, the way he just plays a massive part. Yeah. And maybe where else could he got that? He probably didn't want to go to Saudi Arabia yet. But Mo Salah, he's earned enough money that if he it is about trophies for him now. And if he didn't think Liverpool could compete, he would have walked away. So he's obviously privy to this manager, this team, this squad, and maybe what's to come in the future, I don't know, and thought, I can continue to win, because there would be no better way to leave a football club than going, right, there's the Premier League, lads, see you later, that was me done, I've won you everything, I'm off, I'm going to go and win somewhere else while you rebuild. He obviously presumes that there's a future here where Liverpool continue, because, Liverpool aren't just going to win the Premier League because other teams have failed. Liverpool have done well themselves, and obviously, I guess when Salah and his agents having these conversations with whoever they're having, they're aware of what's coming down the line, because he doesn't want to be stuck here for 2 years in a team that's rebuilding. That's why Fernando Torres left. He said, I'm not here for a rebuild, I want to win now. Does that give you a bit of hope and optimism that actually what's to come? This isn't just a flash in the pan, we've took advantage of a few things here. Mo Salah believes Liverpool can win trophies for the next couple of years at least. Massively
so. And it's that sort of show of faith that he's shown in the football club, in the city. We know how much he adores those elements and the fans and what have you. But again, it's the very new look managerial department, it's the recruitment team, it's absolutely everything. It's FSG if you want to go one step further again, because whatever conversations he's had, they've obviously, from an individual standpoint, they've given him enough to say, we want to keep you, your commitment to the club, we're going to commit to you as well, let's do this together. But as you say, what happens next? Like, he's clearly had conversations that have made him go, actually, do you know what, this is the real deal, like, we are going to compete next season, the season after, because you're right, he hasn't got time to waste now in his career. Like, he knows that more than anyone, as determined and as driven as he is, and he's absolutely still at the peak of his powers, and he wants to continue. And in his mind, he won't be thinking about the end, he'll be thinking about sort of the successes that are to come. So you're absolutely spot on. Like, they will have given him chapter and verse on what we're going to do over the summer, what our plans are there. Arne Slot will have done the same. So it only fills me with confidence, the fact that Mo Salah feels comfortable enough to commit 2 more years of his career to the Liverpool Football Club, that it's going to be a really, really successful period.
And do you know what, just to add on to that as well, I think under Klopp, towards the end of his tenure, the three of them were the three of them. Do you know what I mean? It was the Mane, Bobby, Salah. You couldn't really say one without soon saying the other's name in terms of the importance to how we attacked. I think Slot has quite quickly realised there's one. In terms of what he as a consistent, it's Salah. So if I can build an attack around this guy to make him the most potent, to get the most output out of him, whether that's goals or assists, and I need someone that can just finish on the other end, whatever that looks like, it's to build it around the Salah thing. And I think that is probably who's going to pander to you and cater to you in that way going forward. It would have been very difficult to find another suitor. Just
quick, it's testament to Slot. Let's just boil it down to him momentarily as well, because you're right. Because I think I'm not speaking out of turn to say that the relationship between Salah and Klopp was a really, really good one, but there was definitely moments whereby you questioned that, wasn't it?
At West Ham when they were fighting.
Exactly, exactly. But Slot clearly got a really good relationship with Salah. For Salah, again, to what I was saying a moment ago, he's obviously Richard Hughes, Mike Edwards, etc. He's backed them to do what they do, but he's got a work day today with Arne Slot. Yeah. And that is clearly a very, very positive, very good relationship that Salah thinks, I can happily stick around there for 2 more years. It's just a brilliant, brilliant bit of news.
Continuing the theme, we're looking ahead to the future, rightly so. Bear in mind, there's still 7 games to go this season. Like I said, Liverpool have got a little bit of work to do, but all being well, Mo Salah goes into the summer a 2-time Premier League winner. He's won Champions League. He's won all the domestic trophies that there are to win. We're not worried about the drop off. We're good. Like this fella again, he is 33. His football has changed now, and listen, the way he looks after himself. Yeah. Sometimes like around this time, you might have a little bit of an off month, but if he scored 40 goals or something before it, you can make it up for him. You're not concerned at all. From a personal point of view, looking ahead to the future, Liverpool aren't going to see a decline in Mo Salah's performance over the next 2 years?
I'd expect it, and you know, I mean,
tiny,
do you know what I mean? By his standards. But if there's a drop off in Mo Salah's standards, then you're still one of the high performing forwards in the Premier League.
He's still scoring 20 Premier League goals a season.
Exactly, and I would still expect,
and
even
most players take that all day long.
Do you know what I mean? So in terms of what he's going to cash out with every for the next 2 seasons, I'd expect it to still be another 40 goals in the mix from Salah in the Premier League as a baseline barometer. And then the other thing is, it's then, as you said there, the chapter and verse of what he's been sold, of what's going to come in to be around him and support him, because we're not naive to the fact that there is still going to be changes. There will be outgoings that ultimately aren't going for a free, but there will be a fee for those that go. So what then comes in is then, in my mind, aim to be built around what Salah is currently doing and trying to make sure that we're still getting the best out of him. And if it is the way that he's changed his role to be more of a playmaker, okay, then which other forwards in Europe can give us the output? If it's put on a plate for you in the way Salah can put it on a plate, which ones are going to finish the dinner more often than not? Those type of players. So he can just have that feel-good factor. He doesn't have to do as many crazy runs. He might just be popping up in that little space. How many times have you got that, you know, Chris done a deep dive where he brings up that little box within the box where it's like, that's his space. If he's in that space, you can expect him to be letting off shots. If we can just get him in those positions, and he's got the midfield, the right side of him, a different right back potentially, as you know, time of recording this, we're probably all expecting a new right back to come in at some point in the summer. If that can all be catered towards Mo Salah's game over the next 2 years, then I think he would absolutely still manage. I just don't expect him to have another freak season, is what I'd say. And
what it does, Dan, as well, looking into the next season and beyond, is that it doesn't have to make Richard Hughes and Arne Slot's job easier. They know, first of all, from just a financial point of view, they know what they've got to spend, but also, well, actually, I know I've got Mo Salah on the right wing and I've got Virgil van Dijk at centre back, and I haven't got Trent, because we all assume now that that's done. They'll be aware of it now. Arne Slot said today, obviously I know what's going on. We're not going to talk about it. You talk about succession planning, because if Liverpool did go into the summer needing to replace Mo Salah, good luck. Like, you know, what we're talking about, they need a new left back, they might need a new centre forward, they might need a new right back, they might need a DM. If you don't have to spend £100 million or whatever it takes to replace Mo Salah's goals, it makes those conversations a lot easier. And also, second one, Dan, it also makes new signings of Mo Salah staying, Virgil van Dijk staying. If I come this year, I could win the Premier League in 2 years' time. This is the rebuild.
Fans are shitting themselves. Fans have been telling us all season, all three are gone, you know, because he was able to hang the hat on the Trent situation because of obviously the pull. Like, that's even that in itself is massive.
It's interesting because I think a lot of us, we've spoken on about, a lot of us were pretty aware early on that Trent wasn't likely to stick around. He was likely to move on at the end of the season because of reporting and just kind of what we knew. But also, I think when you couple that with the fact that we were so unsure whether FSG and Michael Edwards would hand out new deals to these 30-plus-year-olds, all of a sudden you are in a world where all three of them do walk away. Mainly, two because of Liverpool's decision and one because Trent just fancies somewhere else. So that's panic stations a little bit. And you are then, as you say, Steve, if you are trying to sell and convince players, targets to come to Liverpool, what are you coming to? Yes, Premier League champions maybe, but that wouldn't have been the Premier League champions anymore. It'd have been a completely different squad. It'd have been ripped of its major assets, ripped of its spine, ripped of its goal scorer, ripped of the captain, ripped of the vice captain. It would have been grim, bleak. Now all of a sudden it's different. You've got that stability. We've got Mo Salah. You're expecting Van Dijk to follow suit as well. You can go out and have these conversations, and you are then selling the Premier League champions, the actual Premier League champions, to your targets and what have you. So yeah, it changes the game completely for me.
And like if you're looking for a striker, by the way, you've got Mo Salah for 2 years.